the man gave the boy the book that belonged to him. Wait, whose book is it? Is it the man's or the boy's? Hello, I'm Giles Darling and I write novels, plays and non-fiction books. In this video, I consider how to avoid ambiguous pronouns when writing your novels, screenplays or TV scripts. But first, please feel free to like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just a couple of clicks, it costs nothing and it's free. Also, when you've finished watching this video, please check out the rest of my channel, especially where I talk about the various books that I've written. I hope my channel encourages you to buy my books, available on Amazon, see the link below, and to read them if you haven't already done so. What's more, every so often, the ebook versions can be downloaded for free. Now let's get back to the video. Sometimes when I'm reading a novel, I come across a sentence that contains an ambiguous pronoun. For example, a he, she, him, her, his or hers, where it's unclear who the pronoun refers to. In most cases, it's easy to work out what the writer meant, but despite this, it briefly pulls me out of the story and interrupts my overall enjoyment. As a writer, you want to avoid this because if it happens too often, your audience are less likely to engage with your story and read it to the end, and less likely to leave positive reviews or recommend your novel to their friends or family. Luckily, if you're aware of this problem, there are a number of ways you can notice it and avoid it. Let's start with an example. The man gave the boy the book that belonged to him. The him in this sentence is ambiguous. Does it refer to the man or to the boy? Whose book is it? One way to improve this sentence could be to rearrange it. For example, we could say, the man gave the book that belonged to him to the boy. Here, him refers to the man because it appears in the sentence before the boy is mentioned. Another way to avoid ambiguity is to replace the him with either to the man or to the boy. Thus the sentence could become, the man gave the boy the book that belonged to the man, or the man gave the boy the book that belonged to the boy, depending on who the book belongs to. Unfortunately, these two sentences sound chunky, verge on becoming tongue twisters, and they lack grace or flow. A better way, maybe, could be to add a preceding sentence to clarify who the book belongs to. Now it could read, the man opened the book and saw the boy's name written on the first page. He then gave it to the boy. Hopefully this clarifies that the book belongs to the boy, although of course the boy could have given it away after writing his name inside it. An even better way could be to show instead of tell, by introducing some dialogue. The man picked up the book. Here, he said, it's yours, before giving it to the boy. Or if the book belongs to the man, it could become, the man gave the boy the book. Thank you for lending it to me, the boy said as he took it. Can you think of other ways to avoid ambiguous pronouns? For example, how else would you improve the ambiguous sentence at the start of this video? If so, please feel free to add your comments below. Ambiguous pronouns are most likely to occur when a scene, sentence or paragraph in your novel contains two or more characters of the same sex or gender. For example, if the boy in the previous section were a girl and the book were hers, then the sentence could become, the man gave the girl the book that belonged to her, and there would be no ambiguity. Similarly, ambiguity can also occur if there are two or more non-sex specific characters or objects, for example a table and a tree, or a cat and a mouse. In the sentence, the cat gave the mouse what it wanted, does the it refer to the cat or to the mouse? Having identified a potential source of ambiguity, you can read the sentence or paragraph out loud to see how it sounds to you, maybe a couple of times. From this you can often tell if there's a potential problem. Indeed, as more novels become audiobooks these days, how your writing sounds when read out loud is increasingly important. Alternatively, you can analyse the sentence or paragraph. Typically, whenever you find a pronoun, you scan backwards through the text to verify what it refers to. This will usually be a character or object that is mentioned prior to and closest to the pronoun, and that has a sex or gender and a quantity, i.e. singular or plural, that matches the pronoun. Here's an example. A man and a woman watch TV. They yawn because it's boring. He clears his throat. She looks at her watch. They then stand up and leave the room. In this bland series of sentences, it's easy to find matching characters or objects by scanning backwards from each pronoun. The man and the woman are they, the man is he, his, the woman is she, her, and the TV is it. There's no ambiguity. However, to complicate things, some elements of the sentence can take priority over others. For example, matching subjects or matching objects take priority over the proximity between characters or objects and pronouns. Here's another example. The man gave the boy a book. He then asked him to open it. In the second sentence, he refers to the man because they are matching subjects. This is despite the matching word boy being closer to the pronoun than the word man. Similarly, him refers to the boy because they are matching objects. However, some readers may not be aware of this, and therefore there is potential for ambiguity with these sentences, and you might wish to change them. Of course, there are exceptions to this analytical process. The first exception is dialogue. Let's look at another example. Has anyone seen my boy? A man shouts at the people surrounding him. He's wearing a red coat. He then starts to sob as they ignore him. Here, the he within the quotation marks refers to the boy, and the he and him outside the quotation marks refer to the man. The trick here is to treat the sentences as two separate texts and analyse each text on its own. One text contains all the words within the quotation marks, the other text contains all the words outside the quotation marks. The second exception is secondary text, such as clauses and bracketed sentences or phrases. Let's look at some examples again. Number 1. The man gave the boy the book, even though the boy had read it the day before. He then asked him to open it. Number 2. The man gave the boy the book, which the boy had read the day before. He then asked him to open it. Number 3. The man gave the boy the book. The boy had read it the day before. He then asked him to open it. These three examples each contain a main phrase followed by some secondary text, which in these examples are a subordinate clause, a relative clause, and a bracketed sentence or phrase. In each case, despite boy being closer than man to the matching he in the second sentence, and despite boy being a matching subject, the he actually refers to the man, which is the matching subject in the main phrase. This is because a matching subject in a main clause takes priority over a matching subject in secondary text. Again, not all readers will be aware of this, and therefore there is potential for ambiguity here. Separately, the pronouns we, us, our and ours can be ambiguous because, in English, unlike in some other languages, there is no differentiation between an inclusive we, i.e. me and you, and an exclusive we, i.e. me, some other people, but not you. This is something to look out for, particularly in dialogue in your writing. If it looks ambiguous, you can usually fix it by changing a we to a you and I, or to a we but not you. Similar issues exist with the pronouns you, your, yours, which are discussed later in this video. Ultimately, it's often best to combine analysing your text with reading it out loud. If you're still in doubt, ask a friend to read it for you. Sometimes a fresh pair of eyes and ears will spot problems that you might have missed. Can you think of other ways to spot ambiguous pronouns? Do you have a preference between reading text out loud or analysing it on the page? If so, please feel free to add your comments below. Based on current trends, I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of decades the pronouns he, his, him and she, her, hers have been completely replaced by they, them, their and theirs, both in spoken English and written English. This is something to consider in your present-day writing, particularly if you currently use he, his, him as impersonal pronouns. The switch to they, them, their and theirs could potentially create more ambiguity, seeing how in the future they could refer to male and female and singular or plural characters and objects. However, pronouns in the English language have evolved in the past, and it's now second nature for most of us these days when we need to overcome potential ambiguity with the current set of pronouns that we use today. For example, the pronoun you has almost entirely replaced the old pronouns thou and one used in the past. If we need to specify whether you is singular or plural, we can say things like just you or you alone for the singular, and you both, you all, or even the colloquial yous for the plural. Similarly, we implicitly understand when you is being used impersonally, for example in the sentence, you need to press the button to make it work. Nowadays, saying one needs instead of you need sounds old-fashioned and maybe even a bit pompous. As for neopronouns, it's uncertain that they will prosper. This is because previous evolution has simplified language by combining pronouns. For example, we now use you, where previously we used thou, one, and you. Neopronouns, on the other hand, add pronouns to our language and make it more complicated. This is the opposite of what has happened in the past. It's possible, therefore, that the proliferation of neopronouns will not endure. This is something for you to consider in your present-day writing. What do you think will happen to pronouns in the future? Do you have any predictions about neopronouns? If so, please feel free to add your comments below. Before you go, please don't forget to like and subscribe this video and my YouTube channel, and to buy and read my books if you haven't already done so. Thanks for watching. Cheerio!